On the morning of April 2nd, 1978, the remote, wind-swept shores of Bell Island, Newfoundland, were completely still. The air was freezing, and the water across Conception Bay was like glass. Local weather stations recorded absolutely zero storm activity and no convective clouds anywhere in the province. But right before 11 a.m., the environment shifted. Residents later recalled a sudden, absolute silence falling over the farms. Every bird and dog went completely quiet. Then, a strange, high-frequency humming tone began ringing through the cold air. A 12-year-old boy riding his bicycle froze in place as two glowing plasma spheres appeared out of nowhere. They hovered near the snowy ground, pulsing with deep blue cores and rotating orange bands. These were not the symptoms of a typical spring drizzle. The combination of absolute animal silence and hovering plasma suggested a localized violence that the calm morning couldn't account for. Seconds later, an ear-splitting explosion shattered the calm. On the Bickford family farm, the blast tore a wooden shed completely off its foundation, killing a flock of chickens instantly. Inside neighboring houses, high-voltage surges blasted metal fuses 20 feet out of electrical panels and physically detonated household television sets. The acoustic shockwave was massive. The sheer concussive energy rolled across the water, rattling windows and echoing loudly over 100 kilometers away in the capital city of St. John's. This animated diagram shows the orbital trajectory of a highly classified United States military satellite constellation, operating exactly 118,000 kilometers above the Earth. At the precise millisecond the blast hit Bell Island, a sensor on one of these satellites tripped an orbital alarm. The satellite that tripped the alarm was Vela 5B. This was a dedicated spy tool equipped with ultra-sensitive silicon photodiode sensors designed exclusively to detect the telltale double flash of secret nuclear bomb detonations. Within days of the alert, two top-tier nuclear weapons researchers, John Warren and Robert Freeman, left the secretive Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory in New Mexico and flew straight to this remote Canadian farm to conduct a forensic investigation. A destroyed shed on a quiet island does not naturally command the immediate deployment of elite weapons researchers and space-based nuclear surveillance. Something far more powerful triggered that orbital alarm. After examining the blast craters and scorched wiring, the Los Alamos researchers delivered their official scientific verdict. They concluded the damage was caused by a lightning superbolt, an exceptionally rare atmospheric discharge carrying an electrical potential exceeding 300 billion volts. This graphic reveals a core contradiction. Left, the superbolt's staggering theoretical power. Right, the official Canadian meteorological map for April 2nd, 1978, confirming calm conditions. Generating a 300 billion volt superbolt requires a massive storm. But highlighting Bell Island, meteorologists recorded zero convective storm clouds and absolutely no lightning that day. The official government explanation is meteorologically impossible. Proposing a superbolt out of a clear blue sky raised suspicions that the scientists were covering up a classified military event. Investigators turned to a chilling Cold War theory. In 1978, researchers proposed the Soviet Union was actively testing extremely low-frequency electromagnetic warfare. This map shows the Great Circle path connecting a 40-megawatt Soviet transmitter in Belarus to a receiving station in Cuba. Bell Island sits directly on this transmission line. The theory suggested these massive ELF waves coupled with the island's underground iron ore deposits, triggering a catastrophic atmospheric electrical breakdown. However, evaluating that threat requires looking deep into the island's mines. The massive underground geology here is primarily composed of an iron ore called hematite. Hematite is chemically non-magnetic. It lacks the physical properties required to inductively couple with passing extremely low-frequency radio waves. The magnetic feedback loop required for an ELF weapon to detonate simply could not happen in this rock. Despite pervasive paranoia about Soviet superweapons, the math fails basic geophysical testing. The electromagnetic weapon theory hits a dead end in the dirt. A more grounded explanation pointed to commercial aviation. During the late 1970s, Anglo-French Concorde passenger jets frequently generated mysterious atmospheric shock waves along the eastern seaboard. But an aircraft traveling faster than the speed of sound creates a sonic boom, which is a purely acoustic force. It is composed entirely of sound and sudden air pressure displacement. Acoustic pressure can rattle a window, but it cannot scorch household wiring, forcibly eject metal electrical fuses, or spawn hovering, multicolored plasma spheres. A passing jet fails to account for the intense, targeted electrical violence that struck the Bickford farm. With standard storms, Soviet weapons, and supersonic aircraft all mathematically eliminated, we are left looking for an entirely unrecognized force. The island's history suggests the 1978 event wasn't the first time the sky behaved impossibly. On November 9, 1896, residents documented a clear sky lightning flash that lasted for 5 full seconds, a duration that defied standard meteorology even then. This geological cross-section shows the final hypothesis. Bell Island's massive hematite deposits act as a colossal grounding node, actively pulling down and concentrating regional electrostatic fields. Tension builds until it reaches a critical mass, sparking a violent connection straight into the bedrock. This naturally occurring planetary short circuit accounts for every physical anomaly. It explains the dead calm skies, the devastating high-voltage house surges, and the eerie plasma spheres, all without requiring a single storm cloud. The Earth beneath our feet is capable of silently absorbing, concentrating, and releasing explosive electrical power without any warning. Decades after top American nuclear scientists and the Canadian government closed their files, the 1978 Bell Island boom remains officially unsolved. Investigators are still trapped between two unsettling possibilities. The event was either a freak geological anomaly that perfectly mimicked a weapon of mass destruction, or a highly advanced military test that successfully hid itself behind a rare natural phenomenon. To this day, no official government explanation can seamlessly reconcile the dead chickens in the craters, the completely stormless skies, and a nuclear detonation alarm triggered thousands of kilometers out in space. We are left with a sobering reality. Either we remain deeply vulnerable to classified military technology operating in plain sight, or we live on a planet perfectly capable of summoning fire from the heavens, and we still have no idea how it works.